Welcome to episode 13 of Hat Talks with Ach, which also marks 6 months of hosting my podcast. Over the months, I've shared my thoughts on decision making, body language, enforcement, consumer activism, being a good example, garbage processing in the brain, leadership, and a video in conversation with a very interesting nonagenarian Dr. Vithal Rajan, who's also a listener. With more to come, do reach out to participate and share your stories in the life series of listeners. Over the past 6 months, many of you had asked me to come on video, but a voice that was constant with the suggestion was listener Rashid Kapadia, a chief engineer and skills trainer from the USA, to which I finally succumbed. Thank you, Rashid, for your regular feedback and encouragement. This episode is about relationships DOM DOE, DOM DOE, or date of manufacture and date of expiry. Let's look around ourselves and observe personal relationships of different types. Now let's go a little bit deeper and separate them into groups of those in relationships with the same persons over 10 years, 20 years, and of course for the current generation and relevance even at plus 5 years. Is there anything one notices in these growing relationships? Numerous friendships evolve and graduate into the man-made institution of marriage. And likewise, many marriages, whether arranged by individuals or through modern dating sites, often develop into good friendships. The key words being evolve and develop. So going back to my earlier statement, do we notice and acknowledge differences in the chemistry between persons who have been in continuous relationships over 10 plus and 20 plus years or more? Is it still the way it was? Has the ebullience and energy of one of the partners waned over time? Has the spirit and docile nature of a partner waxed to being authoritative over time? Have both personalities started exhibiting more irritability with each other over time? All these relationships began as friendships. So what is happening? Is familiarity breeding contempt? Or are we just evolving? And while circumstances, environment, dreams one had, etc., do play a part, as we progress through childhood, youth, maturity, and so on, we develop relationships of several types that include familial, parental, spousal, friendal, business, professional, and the like across a wide spectrum of feelings. And they could be casual or intense, temporary or longer lasting. But do we ever ask ourselves or thought if relationships have an expiry date? We humans get emotional about these relations. Why? Is it because we believe we are not products and are different? Now think about it. Products have a date of manufacture and expiry, or a best before date, and then now try to relate. Is it not normal as we evolve that the brain also continuously maps the locations of joy, of sorrow, or sadness, of mistrust, of evolving compatibility and incompatibility, and other such waypoints along the journey of our lives? So are we not products of the evolution of our brains as we get differently exposed to life, its hardships, the smooth rides, the pitfalls, the joys of love and a relationship, the thrill of parenting and grandparenting, the wonderment of discovery, the attainment of peace in the mind, and so on? So if we are then products, why don't we accept that the relationships could also have a date of manufacture, and it could also evolve to have a date of expiry? Should we be realistic and accept that? Or is it taboo in the man-made institution of marriage to think otherwise? Once again, think about it. Some of my personal thoughts on relationships and possible remedies when the calmness of the sea or the equation of the relationship detects a slight roll and a gentle pitch, which in maritime terms could be the foreteller of greater turmoil ahead. In my years of interacting with humans in different roles, including listener, leader, and counselor in relationships, I have been consistent with sharing the following thoughts when asked. First, each partner should ask themselves what it is they liked about the other when the relationship began. It's a good mid-rel or mid-relationship check to remind partners. Then assess what happened and why. Thereafter, set course corrections if possible. More often than not in the early days, one finds attraction in another for a quality that one lacks and vice versa. More often than not, humans forget that in relationships, and as they evolve, they try becoming the other person and then exercising control in many ways that were totally foreign at the start. This is the beginning of, in Mariner speak, a small role and a pitch in the relationship. Unhappy, but for the sake of peace and a calm voyage, the one affected endures. Till several years later, they look back and discover they are not at all the people they once were. And this sometimes causes dissatisfaction, which is voiced or acted upon. Or, in many cases, it's just plain submission and acceptance. The saddest thing, in my opinion, is to see a human being lose sense and losing their essence. It's like the taste of the pickle missing in a tairisadam or a curd rice. Humans, not always, but most often, do this to each other, and without thinking. And sadly, to children too, who they try to mold into perfect creatures, into what they weren't, or hoping the children would achieve what they didn't. I believe that children should be allowed to grow as plants and trees in nature. The manure and fertilizer that fuels them is our love, care, and the knowledge shared, and not by continuous pruning to get a shape that we desire. Children are individuals and they must be allowed to naturally express the beauty they have within. Post 10 years, when partners have tested themselves with time together and apparently know each other differently and are disturbed by developments, they should probably look at relationships as a weighing scale, is what I have always advised. Weigh the good of the relationship against the not so good. If the scales tip even slightly towards the good, stick with it, for it can't get better. If the scales are in the middle, work on it through communication to tip it further towards good. If the scales tip overwhelmingly on the other side after many attempts to reason, or when there is no attempt made, the relationship is probably past its best before date and has reached DOE, or date of expiry. I have friends who I admire and who, after long relationships and with children involved, realized that date of expiry had arrived and left to find better, more joyful lives either alone or with someone else. Some of them remain good friends with their ex-partners. We have just one life, but before that happens, and when partnerships are in mid-rel assessment, here are a few final thoughts. When a partner comes to you and speaks, they wish to be heard, only heard. They don't need your opinion on anything. They just require an outlet for expression. So don't hear, but listen. Listening is deeper. It is about getting into the other's skin, empathizing, feeling, and so on, and therefore understanding the turmoil, the agony, the joy, elation, or other feelings that are emoted. When you ask your partner a straight question, listen to the straight answer and believe it. Do not doubt or question their answer, which very often leads to a discussion and progresses to an argument. Thus, if you don't wish to listen, don't ask the question. And while listeners must wonder that while your host is spewing thoughts on relationships, how well is his own relationship doing? I must confess that it is presently tipping towards the good in a good way, and after many swings on both sides of the scales, of course. So while I leave you with my thoughts, do reach out to participate and share your stories in the live series of listeners. And as you remember to like, share, and subscribe, this is Captain Journey signing off.